It'll take you an hour to get there and another hour to get back, and you just want to get in there and get warm and boil up some water and try and eat something. Try and hydrate. Very, very important. An important part of the acclimatization process is to be drinking as much fluids as you possibly can. Of course, what I did in this tent as well is I made sure that my Sherpa was sleeping on the downhill side of me. It gave me a little bit of artificial comfort, thinking that I had someone between me and the scary slope below. They're amazing people. Leaving Camp 2 and heading towards Camp 3, you start getting onto mixed snow and ice, and you're on some rock, and you're on some snow, and you never take your crampons off when you get onto the rock, because it takes you 45 minutes to put them back on again. So you're doing some rock climbing in places with crampons on your boots. What a scary situation for those of you who've had crampons on your feet before. And as I moved into Camp 3, which is the highest usable camp on any mountain in the world, there are only 5 mountains that are higher than this point. It's 8,300 meters. I walked past a climber who was just lying there almost right in front of me, and I thought, why is this guy having a sleep outside of his tent? And it just suddenly dawned on me. This was Libor, who had died a week before. Nothing prepares you for that. What it does for me, and because I'd been there the year before and had shared tents with some climbing buddies who never made it back, it was an incredible wake-up call for me. It was a slap in the face. It sort of woke me up and said, Ronnie, you need to stay focused. You need to keep concentrating, because this could be you. And so for me, it wasn't... I was able to detach myself from that. I didn't get embroiled in this emotional feeling of this poor climber that had given himself up. And in many, many ways, and one can debate whether they should be removed, whether they should be slid off the slope, should they be saved, how that whole question we could spend hours on. But in some way, for me, it was a blessing to have someone who had given himself up for the mountain. And so we crawled into a tent at 8,300 meters, and we're now firmly entrenched in a zone known as the death zone. Above 8,000 meters on Everest or any of the 8,000 meter peaks, you enter this terrain known as the death zone. And it's called the death zone quite appropriately, because that is, your body is starting to consume itself. It's starting to eat itself up. And this is where the bulk of the weight starts getting lost. Your muscles start being consumed because you have no appetite. The first part of your system to shut down is the digestive system. If you did manage to eat something, it would just lie there and ferment in your stomach until you got lower down. And so you want to spend as little time as possible above 8,000 meters. And all we did is we moved in there, got to our camp at about 5 o'clock in the evening, and our plan was to boil some water, to stock up our fluids, and leave for the summit at give or take 9 o'clock in the evening. And so this is us getting ready for that. But I did something that was happening on our expedition, is that I was making some regular phone calls to a radio program in Cape Town. And the DJ who ran this breakfast show was very knowledgeable about mountains, and I made a phone call from 8,300 meters to Nick. And I said to Nick, that we agreed that just in case I, for whatever reason, forgot to make a call from the summit, or the satellite phone battery gave in, we would make a call from 8,300 meters, and he would use that as a backup. And I want to just share that call. It was an amazing call. You'll see a little bit of climbing footage, and you'll see just how absolutely slowly everyone is going. I mean, this is about taking one step at a time, and probably taking 10 to 15 breaths before taking another step. And so, Morgan, if we can have that first clip. Thank you.
Hi, Ronnie. We're holding on for you mate. I want to know you, man. That's just awful stuff. Thank you. Amazing stuff. And it gives me a lot of inspiration to continue. I know that when I find the right working, you'll be just as inspired. So, thanks for what you've done there, mate.
We can't wait to speak to you on the other side.
Thanks, Morgan. You can hold that. So that was going up that second step, which you saw right in the beginning. That was me climbing this thing with a head torch. And of course, a lot of what happens from 9 p.m. until 6 a.m. in the morning, you've got a head torch and you're cocooned in this 10 feet shaft of light. You've got goggles on, you've got this down suit, you're wearing an oxygen mask, and it's really hard going. And 1 year later, I found myself once again on the second step. And as I ascended the second step again and started moving towards the summit pyramid, I must say I said some quiet prayers. I prayed that wind would not pick up. I knew the oxygen cylinders were working well and our mask was working well, but I really said some silent prayers to just keep that wind at bay, because I just did not want to repeat. And so, to give you a sense of what the second step looks like, is that the climb really begins at the bottom of the slide. It begins down here, and you need to move up this awkward little shelf, move your way around and get to the base of the step. And of course there are 2 ladders there. That's where the second step begins, and that's the routing and around. And it's about 200 foot in height. And when I was on the mountain the previous year, there was a friend of mine who had said to me, "Ronnie, there is a rumor that the ladder on the right might be a South African ladder. Do you think you can confirm this?" So I said to him, "Well, Richmond, I hope I can get there. But what am I looking for? I mean, an aluminium ladder is surely an aluminium ladder. How am I going to identify this?" And back in South Africa, we have for those companies and corporations who subscribe to the South African, sort of proudly South African philosophy, they often would identify their product with a logo. And so I'm standing there with my elbow on my knee, and I'm waiting for a Sherpa on the ladder, and I look to the right and I see proudly South Africa.